Welcome to the Last Mile Delivery Podcast, your front row seat to the technological advancements shaping the future of last mile logistics. This podcast includes recordings from our Last Mile Delivery meetup, offering you exclusive insights and discussions about the cutting edge of the final mile in logistics. If you are interested in finding out more about upcoming events, technological updates, and industry news, subscribe to the Better Mile newsletter. The link is in our bio.
Welcome everyone to the Last Mile Delivery meetup. How are you feeling tonight? It's really good to see you tonight. I mean, it's kind of weather outside. People, it's really difficult to travel here. It's post-peak season, important season for Parcel logistics, but you guys know, what are people dealing with these current days? Budgeting. A lot of budgeting happens for a lot of delivery companies. April 1st or February 1st is the start of the fiscal year, so important season. How much did you put in your budget for savings with AI? Good question, isn't it? Maybe while budgeting, you remembered our last meetup that was all about AI. We had Brody Buhler from Escher Group over, who actually talked exactly about that it's really difficult to measure which effects and saving effects, especially, we can generate with AI. We had Ravi Kiran from PostNord that provided us very specific AI use cases. Maybe you remember the damage detection in vehicles via photography. That was really exciting. We had Adrian from Better Mile over, who explained how to not only calculate ETAs on the days of delivery, but also pre-ETAs based on historic data, several days in advance. And we had Steffen Ochsenreiter all over from Swiss Post. We'll have him today again, but this time live. He already talked about AI applications at Swiss Post and also the difficulties that comes with it, applying it in daily life of the employees, right? So we are on a big journey of digital transformation in parcel logistics. Welcome. We gathered again today. We're a community of roughly 1,000 people following us online, 100 roughly people today on site again from all around the world and from many organizations. So that's really, really great to see. Especially welcome to our newbies. We have from delivery companies, for example, Geopost joining, Geodis, Paketa from Czech Republic. That's really exciting. We have a couple of new one new postal operator, Pinmail from Germany. We have, as a newbie, Speedy, Hackbart, and Hotshot from the last mile startups and growth companies. And we have a lot of tech and solution providers that are working in that industry. And this is, the team just came up to me and said, we really have difficulties to put all those logos on the slides. What are we going to do? I said, just put them in. Because it's so much going on in this industry when it comes to digital transformation. And many, many service providers and tech companies jumping on this wagon. So again, retailers, brands, and e-commerce platforms, they accept that logistics is not something that they outsource. They increasingly want to make themselves part of the user experience. They see that this is the crucial part of the user experience. If delivery fails, the whole shopping basket fails. So happy to have, as a newbie, Bruno Brauhaus from Berlin, which is great. Are you from Brolo? I know you. You're from here. No, not kidding. Really appreciate you coming here and establishing this community, contributing to an exchange, and not of some theory, but of hands-on experience and exciting tech insights. Please give yourself a hand. Again, we're glad to be your host tonight. That's us, that's Better Mile. We're a company from Berlin. We're not a delivery company ourselves. We rather provide a software as a service, so APIs, SDKs, that delivery companies can seamlessly integrate into their ERP systems and bring in already quite some experience. Our approach is always to be as user-centric as possible and also acknowledge the driver knowledge and put everything based on data-enhanced solutions. What you see here is the major parts of our product suite. Better Places, which is the geospatial intelligence layer. Then we have Better Route, which is basically a driver navigation system that works fully dynamic. Better Tracking, which gives like an Uber-alike delivery experience for consignees receiving the parcels. And Back Office, the user group here, is the depot personnel live tracking, the progress of their fleet and enabling them to jump in when something goes wrong and something needs to be fixed. We just launched the 5th pillar of our product suite, which is called Better Planner. That is a fully dynamic dispatching and load balancing application. So to squeeze out the last like 10 to 15 parcels additionally on day and balance the vehicles across the depots. So if you're further interested, please approach us afterwards. That is my last slide of the marketing part for Better Mile. Some numbers that we're really proud of. Something that I want to emphasize is the 65 million of live-tracked deliveries that we enabled in the last 12 months, and the really exciting comments and user feedback that we generated here. So far, so good. Many more topics are coming up, not only with us from Better Mile, with all the tech enablers in this room and in this community. And again, this is not we against someone else. We need to partner. And I can just remind again, this whole business with this pressure in price and cost only works with a very, very strong collaboration when it comes to technology. This is the only way how we can do it. So thanks for being here to strengthen this community and this network in between our companies. So looking back at the last 10 meetups already, we took a look into different layers, guidance to delivery spots, but also to the last meter information for the drivers, the whole load balancing, dispatching part about basically route design, days in advance, but also on the day of delivery. Thirdly, the broad topic of flexibility, especially in combination with out-of-home and ad hoc redirects to out-of-home places, very essential topic, but also vice versa, when something is delivered out of home with upgrade potential to home delivery. And just recently on the last meetup, we talked about this AI layer. And maybe you have the same observation as me. It's not just this one AI application and another AI application. It's like more and more popping up in different aspects of the value chain. And it's putting itself like a layer, an enabling layer across the digital products in parcel delivery. And what can we do with it? With this mass of data points, AI enables us to actually make sense out of it and transform it into actionable points. Because in the end, it's a human factor, right? It's parcel delivery, so at least for now, we'll hear about robots later, but at least for now, the major part in the end of the value chain is not only lockers, but especially also the humans that actually deliver. So we need to bring them on board. But what's next? What's the next evolution? And that's what we're going to ask today. What's the next step in transformation? So not in tech, in transformation enabled by technology. We have 3 fantastic speakers over. we have Charles Brewer. He has 3 decades of experience in senior roles at DHL Express. He worked as COO at Canada Post. And he's now transforming a 200-year-old national carrier, Malaysia Post, where he's installed as CEO. Please give Charles a warm welcome. We'll have Steffen Ochsenreiter again, but this time live and in color. Digital lead for logistics ops at Swiss Post. In his role, he's driving adoption of IoT, AI, and data, especially focusing on digitizing the manual workflows. Really excited to learn more today in person. Welcome, Steffen. Thanks for being here. Steffen just told me he was originally planned to arrive last night at 10-ish, as I understand it, Steffen, but actually arrived due to the weather 5:30 in the morning, not by plane, but by bus. So please give him another warm applause. We'll have Christian from PostNord. He has the role of lead visionary and senior group strategist for PostNord. In his role, he's driving digital transformation and specializing in data, automation, and AI. And what I find especially exciting is he looks at it from an end-to-end delivery experience perspective. Welcome, Christian. It's really exciting to have you here. For those who've been with us already, know the format. We'll have an introduction, which I'm actually finishing soon. Then we'll have 3 speakers, 15 minutes each. After every speaker, we'll have a short Q&A. So if you have any questions, please raise them. You guys at home, you feel free to fill your chat fields. They will pop out at my little tablet here, and I will read out your questions. And here in the room, I'll pass around a microphone so that everybody can hear you, also the people joining remotely. And then after 3 speakers, we'll have the panel discussion. I'll ask 3 further people on stage, and we'll discuss what we actually learned before we then join the on-site networking. So for the panel, we'll have over Luca. Luca is a product lead at Better Mile and has this very specific last mile, but also AI perspective on topics. Francesco, bringing in the out-of-home experience and topics into our conversation. And Luis from Logibot, just a brand new company. Luis is a serial entrepreneur joining us today. Really exciting what you will tell us about your new endeavor. Please give Luca, Francesco, and Luis a big hand, our panelists for today. So last but not least, please sign up for our newsletter and follow us on LinkedIn. This is also where we will confirm the date of our next last mile delivery meetup. I can give you already a little pre-ETA. It's probably May 6th. And we'll have a really, really exciting topic that we're going to prepare for you. So let's start the next step in parcel transformation. Charles, welcome on stage.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, very good. So thank you very much. Good evening and welcome. I'm not the comedian for this evening, although I can be quite funny sometimes. My name's Charles, delighted to see you. Do you know that I love coming to these events? I learn so much. And the Connect to Post session for the last 3 or 4 hours, thank you, Bernard, has been absolutely fantastic, as it always is, and I know the next 2 days will be. But I also love coming because I get to catch up with people I haven't seen for some time. And somebody I haven't seen since 2008 was the last time I saw him. And you still look the same, actually. It's a bit of a worry, but which is really fantastic. So great to be here. And again, Simon, thanks so much for the invitation. I appreciate it. And to Sebastian at the back of the room there, thanks for the invitation. And congratulations again on being a new father. Welcome to the real world. So congrats. So as mentioned by Simon, my name is Charles. I'm the CEO for Post Malaysia. I came back to Malaysia in 2021. And for those who are in the postal business in the room, they'll know this. All postal operators, all 190 of us also are going through a huge transformation in various ways and different approaches. But we have a lot of challenges. So what I thought I'd do, and as asked to do, I'll take you through a little bit about Post Malaysia, a little bit about what we've been going through, and then lead that through to the topic and digital transformation. I think that's pretty key and pretty critical, so I'll talk a bit about that. Did anybody go to CES, just to check? Anybody go to the CES event in Vegas just a few weeks ago? No? Okay, great. I can talk about it, and none of you know whether I'm telling the truth, which is great. So I'm going to tell you about it. Before I get going, I'm going to show you a video which will introduce, for those who don't know, anybody been to Malaysia? Actually, more than I would have thought. That's great. It's a great place. Great. I'm not Malaysian, as you can tell. I'm English. I'm an Arsenal fan, for those who follow football. But anyway, I thought I'd show you a quick video, introduce Post Malaysia. I think I got 15 minutes, yeah? If I do it in 15 minutes, it is a miracle, yeah? But I will give it my very, very best shot. Carl knows I can talk for 4 hours up here if you want me to. But anyway, I'll do 15 minutes and then get out of your way, and you can ask me. And please feel free, ask anything you want to ask. So without further ado, let me show you a quick video.
Are we just a post office? From love letters to business matters, current news to exciting promotions, we deliver them quickly and safely. For us, it has always been about delivering connections and improving lives. From bill payments, insurance and road tax renewals, send parcels, to investments, buying stamps, and more. And today, you can buy food and drinks while paying bills. We even have something for your fur kid. In line with the times and customers' demands, we are now more than just a post office. Our business has truly transformed. From logistics, warehousing, pick and pack, to delivering right to your doorstep. On top of that, we also manage on-ground and in-flight operations at airports and provide digital solutions. We always strive to cater to all customers and businesses. Our operations are now greener. This is something we're also proud of. And today, we have the largest fleet of electric vehicles in Malaysia. Now that's what we call motorbike. So, are we just a post office? We're certainly more than that. And we will continue to be more. Post Malaysia, delivering connections, improving lives. Here for the nation for over 200 years and beyond.
Cool. Okay, so every time my kids hear that beep beep, they know I'm showing a video. Anyway, but so let me talk to you a bit about our transformation. And again, like I mentioned, all postal operators, when I was at DHL and Deutsche Post, was going through significant transformation. Like most postal operators, we're doing the same, and also diversifying away. And I'll show you a little bit why. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I'll tell you a bit about why we're having to diversify very quickly. But before we get to diversification, so my board, when I first came back in, who are a great board, by the way, in case they're watching, they talked about digital transformation and the need for digitalization, culture transformation, and so on and so forth. But certainly from a post-Malaysia perspective, the starting point was fix the basics. And just to sort of, I won't share too many statistics or numbers, but to give you a bit of a feel for what I walked into. And many postal operators face very similar challenges. Employee engagement was in sort of the 40s. Our diversity at leadership level was below 30, below 25, 25% of our leadership. Our service numbers, we were delivering 1 parcel in 2 on time. Our mail numbers are around 48% on time. Our costs were ballooning. They'd done some clever things-ish to try and offset the cost. For example, closing customer service, interesting concept, and many other things, but the culture was all over the place. So the first sort of 6 months, 9 months of my time back in Post Malaysia was really trying to fix those, get those basics right. You can't move forward until you start delivering things on time and so on and so forth. So that was phase one. Phase two was then sort of very much around making sure the core of the business was automated as best as possible. It wasn't just me chasing or managers chasing, getting it right from a process perspective. A big focus on getting the culture right in the organization. We have about 15,000 odd employees. We come from a government legacy. So as you would appreciate, the sort of culture in there was very internally focused. I remember when I first walked back in, if I saw somebody walking down the corridor coming towards me and somebody from internal audit came out, people would scatter to the four corners of the universe. They were so frightened of being caught or in trouble or whatever else it was. So no concern about losing customers or customer service levels, not too concerned about the service we were providing. So it was a fundamental rebuild of the organization. Phase three was then we said, okay, look, given what we face as some of our challenges, we started testing and playing with new revenue and profit generating solutions. So Post Malaysia loses money, as many post offices do. So we started looking and testing at new programs, new innovations to try and create a top line growth, which was really important. And now we're in sort of phase four. Phase four, I'm going to talk a bit about in terms of where we are. A bit of a realization that with some of our headwinds, those headwinds aren't going to change anytime soon. And I'll show you in a second just what those are. So, and again, I think most of you will probably have a fairly good appreciation for these, but it really sort of smacked me in the face about a year and a half ago that, fundamentally, we have to, as well as doing everything else we're doing, you really need to rethink who you are as a business. So our mail volumes, to give you an idea, we were doing about 1.3 billion letters in 2012, and now we do about 300 million letters per annum. So we're still doing about just shy of 1 million letters a day, and it's still very positive revenue and profit creator, but it's going down. And for those who are perhaps not so familiar, that comes with two hits to the face. You get declining volumes, so your volumes are going this way, which equals revenue and profit, but your cost of operating keeps going up. Every time they build a new housing estate or a new apartment block or whatever it was, we have to deliver those to those addresses as part of the USO. That creates incremental costs. You get hit both ways, which creates a huge problem. At the same time, and like most postal operators, we operate, except for Denmark, wherever Christian is, he'll talk about it separately. We operate a fixed retail network, which gets about 1.6 million unique visitors coming in every month. So it's a really important part and role we play, but it's declining again at a fairly rapid rate because of technology, because of phones, because of whatever else. So that's lower revenue coming in through our retail footprint, and at the same time, the cost of operating that retail goes up as cost of rent goes up or salary costs or whatever else. So you've got two significant headwinds here. And this is the third one. This one is a little bit different today than Europe. And this is quite a common characteristic of Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific. So like you here, I'm not sure what Amazon's percentage of all the parcels created in Germany. I'm not sure what Amazon represents, but it's probably 30%, 25%, something around that number. In Malaysia, the Amazon equivalent is a company called Shopee, and very quickly, TikTok as well, catching them up, and another one called Lazada. They control about 77% of the parcel market. So anything that comes out of there, we were talking about it just now about lockers. If I want parcels, I have to go to the platforms. And if anybody in this room is from a platform, you don't pay top dollar rates, and you give us the stuff that you don't really want to do yourselves. So we get low margin parcel business. Very often that parcel business is to the mountains, the hills, the sort of third tier destinations. So a high cost of delivery. And the long tail of parcel, which for other postal operators in Europe offsets their mail erosion, doesn't really exist in Southeast Asia. And that picture is replicated in Singapore, Indonesia. Indonesia is the fastest growing e-commerce market in the world. 270 million people, about 35 courier operators, and growing at a rapid rate, but they face the same sort of challenge. So if you look at sort of a post-core business, it's in trouble in a big way. And to the board and to the regulator and to the ministry and the government, I spent quite a bit of my time the last 3 years or so explaining to them that this is not something that's going to reverse. This is not going to come back. Mail isn't going to suddenly reappear. Retail isn't going to reappear. So you have to do different things. So over the last 6 months, 9 months, and longer with the regulator, we've been working on implementing new business models. So from a delivery perspective, again, some of you have done this already, but for us, going to alternate day delivery for mail, that takes out a fair amount of cost for our mail operation. For retail, as I said, we have a fixed network, looking at that through a third party. And then for network optimization, working with Kearney, I'm not sure if in the room, we're about to start working with them on how we put about 50% of the two businesses bashed together. We need to get that to 100%. So things like digital twins, working through how we leverage the infrastructure we have to get a lower end-to-end cost. So those are the sort of three things we're working on. In terms of, again, something that's changed quite significantly over the last year or so is that the rate of change from a digital perspective is moving really, really fast. We were just talking about it just now. So when we started our sustainability journey, the cost of EVs was really, really high. Now you can get EVs in Malaysia from China at a lower cost than ICE vehicles. And it's the same thing with digital. So I won't take you through all the videos here, but I do want to show you one. Sebastian was very keen. We're working on things like how we get to the front of the wave on leveraging those digital changes that are coming down the track and coming down the track very, very fast. So the reason I mentioned CES, if you'd seen it and maybe you saw the videos, Boston Dynamics presented their latest humanoid, which was really quite incredible. And there's one on the West Coast by, I think he's Danish, the guy who runs it, who as of February, you'll be able to subscribe to have your own humanoid in your house doing chores or whatever else. And the cost for that humanoid is $500 a month. $500 a month. And that's today. Take it forward 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. It's going to move really, really fast. So we need to be at the front of the wave of that. So just last week, we're working all of these, but just last week, we launched Malaysia's very, very first autonomous vehicle. It's in test. We're going to test it through proof of concept. We'll test it on site. As I was saying earlier on to a couple of others, it'll take us a year, 2 years to get the regulatory approvals to drive those on the road. But they're coming and they're coming in a track. And our job, certainly as Post Malaysia, but I think for all postal operators, is to move really, really fast. We've got to be really quick in this space, get to the front of the wave. Why? 70% of our cost is people, take the people out. That's the reality of it. We've got to take that cost out. So I'm going to show you a video in just 1 second. So actually, do we have the video on the autonomous vehicle? Can we show it now? Is that possible? Thank you.
Malaysia moves every day. People, businesses and ideas connected by deliveries that matter. We're building a supply chain network that's efficient, accurate, safer and more sustainable for the future. Our green logistics revolution is already on the road, phasing in a zero-emission fleet of EVs powered by smart telemetry. Now, we're moving beyond the driver's seat. Our autonomous vehicle delivery proof of concept is the next step towards smarter last-mile solutions. And there's more to come. Our digital and AI roadmap is designed to transform every layer of our operations, from predicting demand and optimized routes, to intelligent project planning that adapts to real-world challenges. More than just simplifying tasks, we're automating the friction out of logistics with AI by enabling interconnectivity with our teams nationwide. Paperless contracts will be the standard to reduce paper waste. And robotics, integrated with AI for safer, faster warehouse fulfillment. Together, these innovations will make Post Malaysia faster, smarter and greener, ready for tomorrow. Post Malaysia, connecting people and businesses for a better tomorrow.
Okay, so that's on the road, excuse the pun, as of last week, and its use case in the first instance will be mid-mile milk runs, which is about 20% of our mid-mile fleet, and as you can see, greener and at a much lower cost, so a really good thing. We just started. The company is called Zelos, they're out of China. Singapore Post is using it, UAE, Emirates Post is starting to use it too as well. So I think you'll see more and more of that coming. AI for us, and again, we were talking about this earlier, every single area of our business, every area of our business has huge opportunities for process improvement and efficiency gains in leveraging what's coming down, as I said, coming down the track. Last couple of slides. So sustainability, most postal operators are working on sustainability. We have a goal to be net zero by 2050. We already have as I said in the video, we have the largest fleet of EVs. We have buildings with solar panels on, 18 buildings now with solar panels on. So going really, really fast. And I'll show one last video and then I'm going to stop because I'm getting that look.
In the heart of Southeast Asia lies a country reaching natural beauty and biodiversity, Malaysia, a land where tradition marries modernity and where sustainability isn't just a trend, but a pledge to future generations. At the heart of this promise is Post Malaysia, an organization that has existed over the last 2 centuries, interwoven with the nation's fabric, now on a mission to redefine its legacy. Our operation touches over 11 million addresses, serving over 30 million Malaysians across the nation every day. And with this extensive reach comes the responsibility to operate in harmony with the environment. Aligned with national and global sustainability goals, Post Malaysia is committed to achieving net zero emissions by the year 2050. In March 2023, we proudly launched our sustainability roadmap, demonstrating our full dedication to 30% reduction of our Scope 1 and 2 carbon emissions by 2025, with focus on 6 work streams: delivery methods, fleet optimization, green buildings, waste management, eco-consumerism,
and responsible supply chain.
With each parcel delivered and every letter sent, Post Malaysia plays a vital role in connecting people and businesses throughout the country. We take pride in having Malaysia's largest electric fleet and remain dedicated to the goal of achieving 100% electrification of our last-mile vehicles by 2030. Our commitment to sustainability goes beyond our road fleet. We are also in the process of transforming our premises. This transformation includes generating clean energy and implementing good waste management practices for our employees. We are also incorporating circular economy principles into our material procurement processes, while we actively collaborate with partners to contribute to the nation's transition towards green mobility infrastructure. Post Malaysia is not merely traversing the length and breadth of the nation, but also pioneering a journey towards a greener, cleaner, and a more prosperous tomorrow.
Okay. Very cool. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and again say thank you very much to Simon. Thanks to Sebastian for the invitation and appreciate you listening. So I'll stop there. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Charles. Thanks. Really impressive. Stay with us for a minute and we'll take some questions from the audience. Yes.
Yeah,
Hi, Charles. Good to see you again. Yeah, of course, I'm fine. Could you enlighten us a bit how you employ AI in your last mile planning and especially the operations side, please?
So again, we spent a fair bit of time talking about this previous as well. I would say, so we started off with a long list of about 490 possible places we could apply AI. This is about a year and a half ago. We narrowed that down. Again, when you have a business that's not making a huge amount of money, you need to have the ability to say no as much as yes. So we narrowed that down to where are the greatest use cases, the greatest return on investment. So actually most of the ones we started on are customer service, sales, marketing, and now we're moving to operations. We use it in our route planning already, but that's been around for a while. So the next sort of evolution of that will be far broader in operations as well, yeah. But it's everywhere. I mean, and Christian and I were chatting about this earlier. You can go, I'm sure it's the same in most people's organizations. You can go into virtually any function, any department, and look at repetitive tasks and say there's a use case there. It's whether you, there's a couple of things that come with it. And again, for those already on the journey, you already know this, but skill sets of your organization. So we just spent 3 days offsite with all of our leadership team, taking them through from basics all the way through to how to use AI in your operation. So skill sets is a bit of a challenge. Real use cases. So a lot of companies will come in and say, yeah, you can do this and you can do that and try this and try that. And you say, okay, show me what return did you get? And again, in our environment, that's really, really important for us. And that's quite challenging. And the third thing is availability of product. What's available in terms of from a product perspective. So it's a horrible phrase, but slow to go fast. But in a year's time, ask me the same question. I hope to be able to tell you even more than what we currently do.
Yeah, you're doing a lot of cool stuff.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask about, so you have an AI roadmap, and
Yeah.
AI is energy consumptive.
Yeah, it is.
So how do you align that with your sustainability roadmap then?
So, again, where we are today is probably less of a challenge, less of an issue, and again, it'll become greater. Talking to people like AWS and the other providers in terms of their data centers, Malaysia is one of the, as you probably know, one of the countries that many companies are looking at to set up very large centers, and they are going to consume a lot. So we've got to work through that and work out how. I think one of the ways we do that, so you saw it here, so we have 19 buildings with solar panels to create energy. That generates for us a 27% save, and it's a brilliant solution. I mentioned this, I think, last year. The partners we work with, they take the capex of the panels, and we share on the save. So that's a great way for us to save on the energy, but we have 690 buildings. So this year, we go up to about 350 buildings will have solar panels, and that will also be not only for the buildings themselves, but also be used for the fleet, which is a really, really good thing. Yeah.
Charles, I would take one remote question that was filled in by John, asking, you mentioned that labor cost is a big impact factor for such a huge organization. How are those compared to other parts of the world, and how does this impact your role?
So IPC, I think they're in the room somewhere from IPC. I'm sure we had somebody from IPC earlier. Have they gone? Yeah. So IPC produce a report every year, and in one of their tables, they show your costs broken down by function. And I think the best in class is probably around 36-38% of costs is labor, and the highest goes up to about 77-78%. But the average is around that 55-60% mark, and it's a combination of things. And again, you know, if you're not from the postal world, if you're from the parcel world, it's a little bit different, where you can use better mile to get very high productivity. So in our parcel world, you're welcome. In our parcel world, it's a little bit easier. But as Christian and I were chatting earlier, partly to do with the way that the postal operators, from a legacy perspective, have been built, which is very labor orientated, partly because there was when I first arrived in Malaysia with Post Malaysia, we had, it's a horror story from a digital perspective, so very manual processes, and still do, by the way, I hasten to add, still have many, many manual processes. And partly because of what we do. People think, okay, there must be huge amount of synergies from mail and parcel, and there are, as I said, we're about 50% combined, and we want to get to 100%, but we still have to go to the furthest point as part of the USO. We still have to go to the furthest point with one letter, and that one letter generates 1 ringgit 40, which is 30 pence, about 30 cents, and it'll cost me 10, 12 just to get there. So, and we have no choice. It's part of the USO. So, like I said earlier, we've had some tough conversations with the regulator and the ministry, explaining that, and explaining that the USO is, and as it is for many, by the way, unless you changed, causing significant fiscal headwinds. But all of that said, and I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me, I'm sure you don't. All that said, it's in our hands to change that, change the USO relationship, change the Postal Service Act, but more importantly, and certainly from my perspective, is really leverage the technologies out there. There's so many ways we can improve efficiency through that, so that's what we're focused on. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much, Charles. Please give Charles a hand.
You're welcome.
This was really exciting insights. And we're going from Malaysia to the other part of the world. Also a postal company, similar heritage. Stefan, we are really excited. What are you going to present to us?
Thank you. I think it's kind of hard to follow up to Charles, actually. So that was a firework, to be honest. Thanks, Simon, for inviting me. Thanks also, Sebastian, for coming up with the idea to give an update on AI. So for those of you who have been with the Better Mile meetup last time, I was talking remotely about AI. Everyday AI, what we're doing at Swiss Post. Who was there last time? Perfect. So you can check if I'm telling the truth about this next slide. So just to give some context, and before we start right in, at Swiss Post, we basically distinguish between 3 different layers and categories of AI. So last time I was talking solely about everyday AI, what we're doing, how we envision everyday AI, how we transform our organization to be able to use everyday AI, which is basically what everyone in this room actually knows, right? So the usage of chatbots, the usage of LLMs, the usage of AI in their everyday lives. That's basically what it's all about. The second category we have is process AI. So this is really embedded AI into a certain process, making life easier for the user. It's kind of the idea. It's more a little bit in the background, streamlining operations, for example. And the third category is game-changing AI, things which are quite new. This could be something like physical AI, as we will be hearing later on as well, form of robots, but could be also other things, and I will show you an example. So tonight we will look at 3 things. First of all, where we are with everyday AI, following up on the last meetup. Second of all, I will give you 2 examples for process AI and game-changing AI, one that we have realized, one that we are about to be realizing, and the third, and I think this is the most important topic, how does this fit together? Because it's 3 completely different categories, but how does Swiss Post actually build them all together? So starting off with everyday AI, and this is the core of our data and AI strategy actually, is that we envision by 2028 that every Swiss Post employee is confidently be able to use AI in their everyday life. Confidently, with trust, which will boost their work and productivity. So that's kind of the idea. This is what we envision, and this is our main goal that we want to reach. And then if you followed LinkedIn closely, you might have seen this post. It's also on the Microsoft webpage. So apparently we're done, according to Microsoft. So they say we employ 45,000 employees. Anyone from Microsoft in here? Good, because I absolutely disagree with that statement. So it's good that this is not recorded. So yeah, actually, we did not empower 45,000 people. It's not true. So what we have done is every employee of Swiss Post has now Copilot chat. I would not consider this empowering, like not at all. So what we're actually doing inside of my unit that I'm responsible for, we sat down, and this is kind of building up on what I showed last time. We sat down and said, okay, how do we really empower people? It's not giving people the tools and then be like, hey, there you go, try AI for yourself. You'll be fine, you will be productive, and so on. We said, okay, we want to build a concept, and I will show you the concept a little bit later, that we'll be validating with people. So we started right after the last mile, the Better Mile meetup with around 12 people. We test run this concept. We had good feedback, we worked it in, and then we started with the leadership. And today was one of the first workshops of the leadership team. They really embraced it. So I had the feedback this morning. They said, okay, this is perfect, that's the way to go. So basically what we're doing is we build role-specific training personas for them. So we train them on actual use cases, exactly what Charles said. So you need to find a use case. You cannot go and be like very broad, because then it will peak at the beginning and then people will just lose interest. So this is where we're at right now. And then until the end of January and beginning of February, we'll be starting with around 300 people in the central region, where we'll be rolling it out, and then we'll make a decision on how we want to roll out across Switzerland. And this comes with a big challenge as well, so I'm not sure how familiar you are with Switzerland. We got 4 national languages, so besides German, French, Italian, we also have Romansh, and we have to get this done in all 4 languages. Makes it a little bit harder. It's not just one, but that's kind of the idea. So until mid of 2026, we want to start with that. And that is also the basis for process and game-changing AI. I'll come to that later. So how does this look like? Basically, everyone starts with level 0, like the co-pilot phase. It's an introduction to AI. How is AI at Swiss Post being lived? What are the golden rules? How to use AI? What kind of data are you allowed to utilize in AI, and so on. So it's very basic, very straightforward. And from there on, we go into the level 1 phase, which is the pilot phase. It's broader use case. It's very broad, not so much focused on the individual, but that's then coming into level 2 captain. So there's no really specialized competencies that each and every one can use. You see some extracts of the persona. So basically, we build for each and every persona that we identified, a persona, and build a day in a life of this persona. And that really goes through what they're doing each and every day. So it's not said that each and every one is doing only what is on his card, but it's at least a subset of things that they are doing. So they don't have to do this transfer of, okay, I can use a bot to do this and that. They actually see it on the paper, and that helps them a lot for the transfer. So it gave us a lot of positive feedback. And at level 3, the instructor, this is not for everyone. So we are identifying a few people who are very tech savvy, who also want to share knowledge, and they will be our AI ambassadors. They also support a lot what we call the Copy Academy. It's a co-pilot academy where they basically share what they've been doing, share about best practices and so on. And they are very much embedded in the business unit, and they're also, from an IT perspective, our ambassadors there. So it's the first point of contact. Not everyone is going the complete learning path. This is really role specific. When you think about Frontline, for example, they don't need to be a level 3 instructor for AI agents. Doesn't make a lot of sense. They will not have a laptop to actually program anything, but they still will go through a level 0 co-pilot phase at least, because we have to make sure that they confidently can use it, because they will use it in their everyday life. So this is kind of the journey where we're at. And this is also the blueprint for the whole Swiss postal organization right now. So we are at Logistics Service Operations at the forefront when it comes to that. So from there on, we build and we go into process AI. And I see, Eva, you put in the wrong slide deck. Anyhow, I will show you this process AI use case then. This is not realized yet, but it's definitely something that we're working on. Currently, we have an issue at Swiss Post. We do have a lot of assets. So we have around 80,000 roll boxes, that ones that you've seen in the picture before, so on the right-hand side. And we have around 2,500 of those yellow containers, the big shipment containers. And we don't know exactly where those containers are. So this is very interesting. So we have a lot of assets, but we don't know where they are. And the biggest issue is that we have to distribute them among our network. So right now, how this works is someone is calling someone else, like, hey, can you ship me 5? And then someone ships 5 or 3 or 5, 15, we don't know. And this makes it very difficult to maintain an overview about the assets. It makes it very difficult and very costly as well to actually distribute the assets through the network. And that leads to a case that we actually have way more assets than we need, because everyone is just piling up stocks, reserves, and so on. Now, we have a project going on which we call GMSP Next Steps. We are not very good in acronyms. It's basically meaning Gebindemanagement-System Post. So for those of you who want to write it down. And the GMSP Next Steps is basically an automatic distribution of all of those assets inside of the network. It's kind of like a tour planning for assets. It's kind of the idea behind it. Now, to do that, we are currently in the phase here where we have to equip our equipment with localization assets. So this is where IoT comes in, and this is where IoT and AI actually have a very strong linkage. We have already equipped some of the cargo containers, so this will be rolled out. For the tracking of the boxes, we are still looking into what is the perfect matching technology. But as soon as we've done this, then we know exactly where each and every box and each and every cargo container is. We know the localization, we know the movement, and based on this, in combination with our estimated shipment volume and tour planning, we can actually have a process AI in the back end that does the whole distribution around the network. That is kind of the idea. So the things that we definitely see besides the automatic distribution is we will definitely improve the asset utilization rate, because right now, I don't even have it. I don't know how often a rollbox is being used because I have zero track of it. It's kind of embarrassing, honestly. But that's just the situation that we have. And it also gives us a prognosis for replenishment or for the purchasing of new roll boxes and assets. Because right now, everything we do is based on our best guesses and whatever we have there. So that's kind of tricky, right? So this is one thing that is coming up right now. I'm sorry, I promised before something that we have already done, but it's the wrong slide set, so I have to improvise here a bit. The third one, game-changing AI, that is something that we have run a proof of technology last year, and which we'll be rolling out right now. Christian, who is in the room, was a big inspiration for that as well. This is focused very much on a physical process. So you see here a person loading loose parcels into one of those yellow boxes before. And I'm completely lost now of the slide set, which is different than I actually handed in. This will be tough. All right, so what we developed is a computer vision system who basically takes the pictures of the security cameras and then gives out the reading of the filling rate of the container. So that's kind of the idea. This does not sound like a lot, but it actually is, because first of all, we're utilizing existing security cameras, so existing infrastructure, so there's not something very dedicated for it. We developed the whole algorithm in-house, not because there was no solution in the market, but because we wanted to. We wanted to understand computer vision because we think there's a lot of potential for it for various other use cases as well. That's why we did so. And the idea behind it is that we will have, or that we do have an AI who takes the estimated shipment volume together with the tour planning, and that will definitely support some of the things. Because one thing you have to know is every week we have tour planning and sort planning sitting together and doing a weekly planning for the amount of yellow shipment containers for the tours and so on. Now, there's an issue with that because tour planning is very safety oriented. So they plan with overcapacity between 5 to 10% because they want to make sure we have enough transports going from A to B and so on. Sort planning obviously wants to have the lowest amount of personnel on site to actually fulfill the estimated shipment volume, at the same time being able to get all the parcels out. Now the problem is, if we have now a container standing there and it's not 100% full, they have to cancel it. Or they will cancel it, because then we save costs, obviously. Every tour that we don't go, it's saving money. If we do this prior an hour to departure, we are not being charged by our sub-company that drives for us. If it's anything lower than an hour, we get charged the full rate. So sort planning has a tendency to try until the very last minute to fill it up as much as possible before they ship it out. But sometimes it's not worthy. So sometimes what happens is they will ship out a container which is like 10%, 30%, 40% full. And that is that's obviously not a good strategy. So I just hope, nope. Eva, I'm missing about like 5 slides. So trust me on this. So what we did, we thought about, okay, how can we get this kind of information? So one thing would be, okay, we have someone manually checking the content or like the filling grade of the containers. Now you can imagine if you have someone sitting there and writes down 25%, 75%, it's way off. And latest after the 3rd day, every time we checked it, it was 100%. Because everyone was just like, yeah, you know what, it's 100%. No one checks it, I'm fine. So they did 100%, nothing happens. The other option would be, because we have this dimension weight scanning systems where every parcel goes through, that we just add up that scans, and then we should have a very accurate reading. Also doesn't work, because sometimes you have misreads, and the second thing is we sometimes mix it between loose parcels and the roll boxes. So again, we cannot go from there for the volume. So the only option is some kind of sensor, and that's why we go with the camera system. That's kind of the idea. So not sure what's happening now. Yeah. My 5 new slides. All right. I will try it from the back of my head, so because we're running out of time otherwise. So anyhow, we have been doing a proof of technology for this last year because we had to convince the business that this is the way to go. There was a lot of pushback. Is this really technology? Is it too complex? Also, the question came up from the lady from Bettermile before. what is it in terms of energy and how much power consumption do we have with that kind of computer vision technology? So it was a lot of questions. We said, okay, let's run the test there. So we ran this test. We had very good results, as you could see in the pictures before. So we could easily, with just 100 or so pictures for training for the model, we had easily an accuracy of around 10%, which is more than enough for the use case that we have right now. And what we can already see is that a lot of the containers are not being packed 100%. And now the idea is really, if you have, for example, from A to B, we have around 4 tours per day. So if you see that the first one is quite empty, we can just cancel it way prior to the 1 hour window before. So we save that money. If you see the second and the third one combined with the estimated shipment volume would fit, then we can move them together. So again, we save another transport there. So if we just save 1% of the transport, this whole project for all the gates that we have is already paid off. It's very straightforward. And at the same time, it also helps us a lot for the capacity planning as well, because now we have historical data. Now we know how many parcels, or not how many, how much volume we have in the containers, so we can actually plan better our capacity. So that is kind of the game-changing AI part. You could also just go, and I will go for the last slide. I'm not sure if you see that, but he's hectically fiddling around. All right, so this is where we have everyday AI. Process AI, I showed you one example. There's a couple more. The other one I had that I will share later on is about an automatic customs declaration with AI. It's actually very powerful because it increases our customs time through by 30%. So that's quite massive. That's why I wanted to show it. And the third one is the game-changing AI of computer vision is one of the cases. Now, how does it fit all together? So you've seen with everyday AI, we basically build trust. We build competency to understand AI. So people can understand what is actually happening. This gives us also the trust that people think, okay, process AI, this is actually helping me. Because at the beginning, when you start off with process AI and you implement it directly in a certain process, people tend to not trust the outcome of process AI. So everyday AI, when it comes to that, really helps you there. Yeah, perfect, look at that. So we'll skip that because Simon is already standing there. So we build trust. Everyday AI is the basis for that. Process AI takes care of the repeating process, really helps build value. And game-changing AI collects, for in this case, otherwise not available data. Comes also back to what Charles was saying. So we need to make data available. And that, if you look at the arrow in the other direction, that actually helps again in everyday AI. So now I can have people sitting in front of their laptop and be like, okay, give me all the historical volume and all the historical data, and you directly get it, and you can trust it. That's a massive game changer compared to what we do right now, where you have someone sophisticatedly looking into some databases and try to get the data out. Overall, it also comes back to what Charles was saying, so that's actually a perfect pitch there. We have to make sure that we create value on all steps. So you cannot rely on game-changing AI to create value only. That does not work. So you have to create value across the chain, and this is why we look at it holistically. Right? I'm sorry for the technical mishap, but yeah, maybe you have some questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stefan. Yeah, sorry for the hiccup too, but that's life and digital technology. I guess we know also from AI. But maybe difficulty, AI it starts hallucinating and telling you very confidently that it's kind of the truth, and you have to identify yourself that it's not. Have you come across any of those cases that the people that you onboarded on certain technology, especially AI technology, trusted too much and have not gone through this learning curve of reflection? Yep. And basically you created, not disasters, but at least wrong outcomes?
100%. I had a case a few weeks ago where a colleague asked me, it's like, hey, I upload this Excel sheet and it gives me wrong outputs. And I looked at it and it was 100% wrong output. And then we tried to figure it out, and then we realized after the third prompt, Copilot said, oh yeah, I couldn't even open the document, so I made a figure up. Yeah. But it was after I asked it, right? So difficult. It can happen, yeah. So this is definitely an issue. So I always compare Copilot to a colleague who always wants to be nice. But doesn't know all the answers.
And but it's very confident.
It is super confident. It's very, very, very strong authority. But yeah, thinking is still allowed at Swiss Post, so that helps a lot. So
cool. So any other questions here from the room? For Steffen? Yeah, hang on a second. Then the remote people won't hear you, so I'll pass it.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. So you told a lot about what you do on the operations side, on the Swiss Post side, but we've also been seeing that AI can be used to actually improve behaviors on the consumer side. So you can reduce return rates or manage things that actually help your bottom line. So does Swiss Post do something that actually helps the consumers, improve behavior so that return rates are going down, or maybe they are giving the right direction so that efficiency is increased on your side?
That is a very good question. So how do I answer that properly? So I'm very much focused on logistics as operations, which is really like the fulfillment process, right? From taking in the parcel until delivery. But of course, returns is a big topic on it. So one thing that we're trying to work in is, of course, with the retailers to make sure that any kind of return is either incentivized not to return, or that if it's returned, it's done in a proper way, for example. So there's also a heavy push at Swiss Post towards reusable packaging, for example. So that's not so much AI related now in this case, but this is kind of how we try to work in to get at least or the lowest amount returns as possible. But at the same time, we're kind of pickled because returns is also money for a postal operator, right? So this is kind of where we have to balance what makes sense and what not. Yeah. So maybe my colleague can actually answer you way more or way better that when it comes to AI in returns and delivery. Yeah.
Thanks.
Hi.
Jelena?
Coming back to the everyday AI, I think the framework is absolutely lovely.
Thank you.
You put it down quite well. I was wondering at the level 2 captain, is there any specific, or maybe rather, could you give us a bit more specific use cases at the operational level, how they actually use it?
Yeah, operation level is a very good question. That's one of the roles which is heavily debated as well. Because like last mile, for example, the last mile operator, he will never use M365 solutions to the full extent, right? The maximum they are using is Copilot. So they will not, most likely won't be trained on a Copilot as a level 2 training session. They will have the basic one, so they know what kind of data they can use and share and how they can trust AI, but most likely they won't go into this direction. With the exception of team leads, for example, in the last mile, and their examples are very basic now from the top of my head. Things like getting the meetings being done properly, getting the meetings booked properly, getting the meeting notes automatically, stuff like that. So very, very basic stuff. Yeah. But it also goes in direction of Power BI and Gen BI, of course. So that's when it comes to the team lead itself. But like really, people on the floor usually don't use M365 to the full extent. So this is why I mentioned before, you have to make a judgment, who do you train to the full extent and who not. Yeah.
We have one more question.
Yeah, it's pretty connected to this one. How are you trying to convince people or employees that are not convinced over AI, especially like team leads and stuff like that? From my point of view or from my experience, they are pretty, not all of them, but some of them try to stick to the things they know and the things they like.
That's a very good question. So obviously we cannot force anyone, right? But we encourage people to do at least the basic training, so they at least understand it. And that's something we have to do, because otherwise people share freely stuff on ChatGPT or not on the lockdown Copilot version. So the basic is kind of mandatory to do so. But of course, I cannot force anyone to utilize Copilot, right? But and that also comes down to a cost perspective. Copilot licenses cost money. So if you're not using it, then I will take away the license. And this is the nice part about it. We can track it very, very easily. So we see if people are using it or not. And then we would go into a conversation with them. And if we really see, okay, there's no need for it and no use, or the person is reluctant to do so, then it doesn't make sense that this person pays for a license, for example. That is one way. And one thing, and then I'm wrapping up, what we see is that actually a lot of people now apply Swiss Post with the request, okay, can I use AI or not? That's very interesting. And what I found especially interesting there is it's not limited to people between 25 and 35. So across the board, everyone is now asking, hey, is this something that you are supporting or not? And then that shows me that there is more and more engagement when it comes to AI as well. So hope this answers your question.
Really cool. I take the liberty to ask the last question. And the beauty of transformation is when you get it rolling, like you do with AI in your organization, it's rolling, right? So people are getting hungry and they have ideas. They will probably come up to you every day. How do you triage and how do you convince your board in which to invest? And maybe you can make a differentiation between those things that pay off easily and are no-brainers, or like, you judge differently from the strategic topics that you still want to tackle, but that may have some longer time to pay back.
Kind of answered your question there already yourself. So,
sorry.
So what we're trying to do is obviously we look for the impact, direct impact. That's what we're looking for. So there's things that you could do easily, might not have a big of impact, of course. One beauty that we see is inside of our organization, I'm 100% sure that's true for you as well. If you find one use case in a certain area, it scales massively, because every delivery site is practically the same, more or less, right? Every logistics center is kind of the same. So even a small use case in the first place can scale massively. And this is what we have to gauge. So we have to check, is it something which only fulfills the need of this specific person in that specific use case? Then it's most likely something will not follow through. But as soon as we see it's something that scales or that brings value, then obviously this is where we're on board.
Okay, so the sheer mass makes the business in the end.
The sheer mass or the impact. So this we always have this balancing that we have to do. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Stefan. Thanks a lot. And we're going from Malaysia via the Swiss mountains to Christian, representing the Nordics from PostNord.
So I'm going to try something completely new today. I really love coming here, I have to say that, because it's a really great environment. I think this environment here that you have in Better Mile and the startup communities that you have in Berlin is fantastic. And that's why I try to dare you a little bit here today. I'm going to show you something that I haven't even tested a little bit before. I spoke a lot with Andrea about it in our conversations. But I would like to get into something like this, because how many of you here have already used prompts when you order travels, hotels, or anything on the internet? How many? Let's see some arms. Quite a lot, and I was expecting it was quite a lot here. And there was an article from Accenture not long ago that actually also predicted that this step will not take a long time before it actually moves into when we are purchasing our stuff on the internet. And I thought it's been quite interesting for me to see what does it actually mean for us, especially as carrier, because that's why I'm interested in it, but also to understand what's happening in the rest of the process. So I take you on a little bit journey. It's my thoughts, and I'm not right. But I'm trying to get some attention on the things that what might happen for us in the industry. But I think that this is going to happen more and more. That we see Google now have gone into the payment models on these things also. And have any of you actually purchased something through this Google? I think it's not there yet, huh? But it will be there. And I also see that the platforms are getting kind of hickey because they like to control whatever we do. And in China, 20% of the volumes are going through platforms, and that is increasing quite a lot. Spontaneous shopping is the big thing. And so when you have another solution, which is more like you have to think before you purchase, it challenges also the way that they are selling. So I'm trying to go through the process and see, okay, what does it mean? You know, the first thing is that you're not going to sit in front of computers. Maybe you will in the beginning, but at some point you will think that, okay, I have some prompts. I define some prompts for my purchase, and they could be like, what is it that's most important for you? It could be like, okay, I want to have it delivered someplace. because of convenience. We see that convenience is rising. We have a lot of locker people here, but convenience is rising. And why? It's because it's actually easy to control. The same thing, if you live in a house, you probably will not have a problem. But the thing is that you already determined some things. It could be like, I'm not saying this against Amazon, but you could say that I would like to get the price of Amazon for my goods, because in general they have pretty good price. I don't care when I get it. It doesn't matter for me if I get it tomorrow or in 5 days. I could give a range of days, so okay, just deliver it there. Really important for me is that I get it to a place which I feel safe. Maybe I'm traveling as much as I do already, so I wanted to have it in a locker or a put point that I want that I trust. So this would be a part of my definitions. But it will be that before a normal purchasing, you will just go for the products, and then you will find, and then at the end you will choose maybe a delivery time with a price. In the future, all that is done. You have found your agent, and you have found the criteria that you want. And that means that the moment of truth shifts from when you're pushing the button to, because you already have given the agent, an agreement that it should purchase for you. So when you meet the demands of the price, when you meet the demand of the convenience point or the time that you want to deliver, you just execute. It seems a little bit dangerous, but think it as you have this buy button in Amazon. I pushed it a couple of times before I actually was finished, and now you have bought this. But this is going to be especially for probably your subscription things. Or if you want to have the new iPhone, you know that you want to have that iPhone, and you know that you want to have it home, and maybe you want it straight the same day as it comes, but maybe you say, okay, I can wait a week. Doesn't matter. I just want to pay a little bit less than everybody else, so I can mock my friends or something like that. But that means the moment of truth actually moves already to the start of the process. So the whole way of how this process is working when we purchase, that might change a little bit. So all these last mile considerations, they're already taken. And that means also that the things that we like already today, we will probably search towards those. Secondly, I think that the journey we already started with out of home and Pudos, seeing the increase for the lockers everywhere, I think will continue, because this will also support that. Because you will go to places where you know that you have the trust that a thing is in your convenience. The only thing I think is, if you have a safe home, safe house, you have as I said, I think I said it last time when I was here also, that in Denmark, we have 13 possibilities to have the parcel delivered at home unattended, something like that, which means I can ask for it to be unattended, delivered at my dog shed or my greenhouse or whatever I feel like I'm safe. Those people will not convert because they're already safe. But the other ones, me living in an apartment where I want to order something and I don't really care if it comes in any day the next 14 days. I cannot guarantee I'm home now. So that's why I would say, okay, fine, put it to my Pudo point or put it to my locker. So it means that I believe that this will just support what we're seeing now. So this is my guess. I'm just guessing here. But this is what I can see. Another thing which is quite interesting is bundling. It really depends on how, when we shop many times on Amazon, they like to bundle if they can do it. And also we like to bundle because it's sustainable, but it also has a price. Especially a price when if you're gonna purchase your prompt and you want to have it bundled. What do you think that's gonna mean for because your agents, unless you start to build the rules in, which you also probably will do over time, what is more important? Is the price more important than the time? More important that you bundle it? All these things will be individuals, prompts that we will develop over time, I'm sure. So one value is more important than another, maybe per product. But it will challenge us when we are doing this. So this is a little bit, it can change a little bit how we do our peaks. Because if you go, let's say you go for price, and you want to have the cheapest price, and you don't care about some of the other parameters, what you bundled before will probably not be bundled now. Because at that time you were sitting already deciding, and just in that moment you are pushing the button and say, okay, bundle these two and bundle these two, it's okay with me. But here you already have, you ask an agent to, an agent is actually a 1 and 0 more or less. You know, it will follow your description of your prompt. So it can go a little bit, unless you are intentionally consolidating. That has, of course, a cost. Because when can you meet the right carrier for the right place with the right homepage where you can purchase everything so it gets bundled? You know, the agent would like to shop on every site because it has the possibility, but we don't have because we don't have time for it. But an agent can run and check every place all the time and even say, okay, fine, I get it. I'm here in Berlin, but I get it from Brussels. I don't care. You know, it just cost me 3 days, but I get a better price. And maybe they ship it with impost because they have the structure, and we know the cross-border costs. Francesco, you just made an article about it. Cross-border is going to, actually for the C2C, is dumping the prices. So there's a little bit going one way and a little bit going on way. I believe we will see more and smaller parcels. I think this is going to be the outcome. I'm guessing. You are just as good judges as I am. Another one. Speed. Speed today is a parameter that I can't say I use it too much, because most of the things I buy is cross-border, which I really, when I sit in Denmark, most of the warehouses are south or they are in Sweden, which means that I really can't control 100% that journey anyway. So I usually don't need speed so much. It's very rarely I need the stuff the day after, because I'm never home the day after. But when this agent is gonna rank you as a provider, both from a homepage of being able to have the products, but also together with the collaboration you have with the carrier, in order to give you the service promise that you're looking for, I think that the thing that would win in the end is reliability. I think that will win more than being very fast in delivery. And that is, when we take this thought also into consideration on what does it mean for us carriers, what does it mean for these homepages in our discussions that we have, because they will have the same problem. They also want to sell the product, and so they will have to find the partners in crime here to get the product to you with the ones that actually can keep the promise. So I think that we're going to see it's going to be a much more sharper reality in the future than we have today. And I think come back to you, Simon, last time when we talked about the documentation of the whole process. I think that that is going to be quite interesting. So when you look at the home pages, they need to, for the robot, they need to have this collaboration with the robot in order to make sure that they have the products, they know the pricing. They have to be extremely much more following the market in pricing, and they also have to know the slotting, for the carriers. They need to, in order to make sure that they get the attention here, they need to get a little bit sharper on this. It's going to probably put a lot of demands on the carriers in order to make sure that, but it's also going to have a lot of tendency for them to benchmark much more prices than they've done before in order to make sure that on the pricing element that they actually meet the prices. So I think the winners will be those who can expose the capacity promises clearly at the agentic checkout. So this visibility of these features, performances and stuff will be much more important in the future. That's what I believe. Then it comes to exceptions. Exceptions is also going to be a part of the process, because you will probably just tell your agent that, okay, fine, I want to buy the product, but how do I get rid of it if it's wrong or if it's not right I have? So we will also see that when delivery fails, or there's something missing or something going wrong under the process, the agent will take over and talk, and not you as a person. So sorry for you about the customer care thing, but it's going to be, I think the customer care also is going to be a much more of a digital journey, going back and forth with messages. So yeah, we talked about that. So I think it's going to be good that you are documented and you know how to control that process. So we will have very much fewer where's my parcel and stuff like that. You won't care until you get your thing that you have ordered it. So the agent will actually interface and have this dialogue. That's what I believe. So, and if you fail here, the agents will not buy at that place next time. Because the world will get a little bit more black and white. I wonder if we can take it. We're used to so many good excuses. Huh? So, and then what I have here is you have also a lot of risk when you let everything go over to an AI world, because we know there will be mistakes, but also we will also know there is a lot of possibilities of fraud in these things, because somebody will break into your agent and suddenly order a lot of things that you didn't need to another address that you don't know. But so I think also here again, there's going to be a lot of push for documentation in the process. There's going to be photos, and everything is going to be documented. It's going to put a lot of effort on us carriers in order to make sure that we actually are compliant with what we should be compliant with already today. And I know that this is areas which are really difficult to handle for carriers, but it's going to put a lot more pressure on us, which means that we have to structure our processes. We need the AI, we need to make sure that we also control that people are doing the things that they should do in order to make sure that we are documenting these things. Because we need to, the ones that can handle these things and say that, okay, fine, it's not on my side, everything is documented, I think they will be there. Yeah, I say here returns. Convenience in reverse logistics becomes a core conversion in the future. So we need to make sure that the returns processes are much more stringent than today. And it actually becomes a part of your business, that you know that. I can say for PostNord, we don't have a product owner of returns. I think it's a pity, because it's quite a lot of volume. But it would be nice if somebody took that action and said, okay, I'm product owner of this, and make sure that I make it as a business, because there's great possibilities in that. I'm not going to talk about this because he's so close. Normally I talk about these things, but time is running out. So thank you very much.
Please stick with us for a minute. We'll take a question from the room.
Knowing all the options you just presented, I have a question. What do you think? Are we entering a better world with this kind of setup, or worse than we have right now?
That's a tricky
because
one.
right now we are got pissed about the shopper, but then we are going to be mad about our own agent who screws up the deal, maybe.
It depends on what are you shopping for. Because if you're shopping for price, I think you will be a happier person. I think it's going to be a price pressure first. I think it's going to take some time before it's actually going to accelerate. I think we will see some of the convenience buying, and we also see that we have Rufus who is helping us today when we shop at Amazon. I think we will all see these coming up. But the thing I fear the most is Generation Alpha, because you know what they did with DoorDash in US? You know, they complained about the burgers were not cooked because they took a picture of the burger and then they said, can you make it to an uncooked burger? And then they got the money back. And now DoorDash have now implemented an AI to check the picture for AI, because you know it spreads like rings in the water. You know, as soon as you find a hole in this cheese, it's gonna go internet. You heard what happened also with Vinted in France when people are moving from one place in France to another, and they just shop their own boxes from Vinted back and forth. You know, it's damn smart. But what they can actually look at processes in a way that they're not meant to be. They're excellent hackers, I think. Hackers of processes. So I think that this is gonna challenge us, and also making sure that we're probably gonna have as much noise with this as we have with drones. I can't give you a black and white answer here.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. What I always struggle conceptually with is that we have basically an AI to, let's say, a human to AI, and then again human loop. So the AI just amplifies the amount of information out there, but still a human has to read it and digest it. Do you see any, or how wouldn't it be a better world where we have a human talking to an AI to AI, and then back to a human, and so we can all relax, and the agents do actually the talking, because all the interpretation and the digestion is just so overwhelming. And I think you already see that in social media, which from my perspective is totally a waste of time now, because 80% of the content is AI generated anyways, even those funny little cat videos. So it's just becomes really boring. And I really struggle conceptually with this whole just translating the current world into the future. It's just we have to reinvent that, and it's also what I've struggled with, to be honest, when companies just say I go and implement Copilot now, because it just amplifies the amount of information. Still, somebody has to process it, and it's just not going to do it. It's not just not good enough from my perspective. So you're a very visionary person. I really like the use case. I just wondering if you can help me kind of, where do you see that going? And I'm really struggling with that.
Well, I think you have the same concern as I have also, that you need to get your AI can also be trained to become a better person to question in the future. I'm sure of that. And you know, if you're talking to your AI on Perplexity or something, and you treat it like like your friend or whatever you do, you also find that the dialogues get deeper and deeper. And I think this is a question about that. At some point, we will not be able to see if there's a person or not. I don't think so. I think that's going to take very few years. That you and I we will talk to the AI, or in the first picture, I actually said it to talk to a Google. So you actually feel that you are in the process. I can have the same worry as you, but I think also, like we see today in my neighborhood, where we have internet shops, we have everything, we have these big supermarkets. The small shops are growing because you want to have something which is close to you. You want to have something you have. I think that every time you have a process going one way, you will have a process going the other way. So I think you can choose your own world, where you want to be. It's not probably the one that you're gonna. It's gonna be a little bit more expensive if you want to live in the exclusive person-to-person world, and it's gonna be more. It's gonna be less big, but I think there will be this ups and down, and maybe an 80-40 at some 80-20 at some point. But it's a concern for sure, and we know the AI is not right all the time. Stefan is not the only one looking at data and saying, "What the fuck happened here?" This is something I do as well, and we just see this cannot be true. There's something wrong here, and in many cases there is, but also many cases I've heard where I talk to researchers where they get a proposition from a ChatGPT type in a completely different direction, which actually turns to be a right direction. So I think that it's a blend here again. The reason I did this was actually try to see what is it going to mean for us as a carriers. I think that the only thing that we have is that we have the convenience spot, that we have the end consumer, and try to control that. Then I think we will have to get other skills, like the ones that Petermite is trying to help us to get, with the last meters or whatever that it needs to be in documentation before I feel comfortable, and the agent feel comfortable. That's what I think is going to happen. But I also think platforms are going to fight this. They're going to make their own. They're going to force anything in our hands and say they're the best, of course, because they sit on Arthur D. Little, 17% of the global e-commerce is in platforms today. 17%. It's quite a lot. And they haven't really attacked Indonesia yet, or these places. They're on the way to take these markets. So yeah, it's a big thing.
Christian, thanks very much for the impulses. I think we have to extend our mission a little bit. We don't have to make even only more convenience, but we also have to apply a technology to make it a better world, because it can also head us into a wrong direction, right? Maybe we have to extend our mission a little bit into that one. And also, you as carrier, we as providers have a certain responsibility for it. Right? Thanks very much for this impulses. I kindly ask our three panelists on stage. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you.
So, welcome with me, Luca, Francesco, and Luis. Guys, that was intense. What's the next step in delivery transformation? Oh, sorry. Yeah, the microphones. I forgot about that one. The next steps in delivery transformation. What do you guys say? Just reflecting on the presentations. Been there, done this? Or is it really the next steps that we heard today? Francesco, what you're saying?
Well, I'm a bit concerned about, or really interested about the feedback from postal or parcel businesses about their AI projects. And how they, for example, how if they connect with shippers through AI. Most of the time we talk about AI for the middle mile, for the last mile, how to make less miles, less stops, whatever, to save money, working hours, etc. But I really feel that by the moment you get the order in your system, everything starts there. And in that moment, you can build the next step. So I'm really curious about that, because I think that it can improve a lot the efficiency of the last mile, which truck to use, where, what time, etc. And then I'm quite concerned about, for example, external AI agents that could possibly make massive web scraping into last mile or any postal parcel companies to collect massively their information, and by that build another business that will cost a fraction of their.
Francesco, you work for Blockit, so basically in the out-of-home business. We heard about out-of-home today, but not as a revolution. It kind of incorporated into like the standard processes, right? So sorry, you're now commodity. But what's your specific next steps? Where do you really see the next steps for the out-of-home, out-of-business? Where are you creating the little revolution? Maybe even if it's incremental.
Well, we are not directly, but with the whole ecosystem, we are participating into this revolution that, it's like coming back to the past, where we used to go to a point to collect our letters or parcels. We are very accustomed to receive at home for decades now, but this technology is really easy. An out-of-home project to be successful needs a good UX experience at checkouts, and for sure a very strong out-of-home network that will always be made of parcel shops and parcel lockers. Most probably in the future a lot of robots, but for now this is the direction. Producing lockers, make them works, connected to parcel business backend, and I also see that this year and the years to come we will see a lot of out-of-home integration between different networks that until the day before were fierce competitors, but now they understand that it's much better to work together in some spaces.
Robots, good keyword. I mean, you reduced already the human effort that is necessary with the help of out-of-home. Now you possibly think about robots loading the parcels into the lockers to even use less of human effort there. But Luis, robots also a good keyword for you. You're a serial entrepreneur diving into this direction. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what do you in this industry and what you see as the major steps and how delivery companies could profit from that.
Thank you, Simon. So I'm the co-founder of Logibot. So I do that with Salim Zam, who's just over there. So our vision is really to adapt the hardware to the use case, not the way around. So really to blend up robotic solutions to the problems in the intralogistics industry. So we have already 2 pilot signs with 2 major postal industry that are working closely to us to have the right data to suggest the right human-like solution that blends into the operation. So we believe that humanoids might have an impact, but in future years. But now we really aim to have the best possible solution for the use case. So it's not a question of versatility. It's really to have the best possible hardware that blends into the operation. So to come back to data and to everything that we've discussed with Stefan before, the key start for us is really to understand the overall picture of how a sortation center works or warehouse works before starting to think about possibly automating a movement, because a movement has a meaning in an overall organization. And so it's very important to have the bigger picture by analyzing data over a couple of months. And to understand why something is done manually and how this can be optimized in terms of robotic solutions. So yeah. And with regards to Logibot, or what we do, so we are AI software that is that helps operation leaders to choose, train, and deploy human-like robots in their warehouses. So in a hardware agnostic way. Unbiased way without vendor locking. So the 2 biggest problems we solve is for automation leaders to choose the right human-like robot that blends into the operation, and second, to avoid any vendor locking once a solution is being chosen and controlled by our software. So that's what we do in our vision and what gives us some traction so far.
Luca, you're working in the heart of delivery orchestration at Better Mile, and sequence optimization, real-time tracking. You've been working that for quite a bit now. Where do you see the real next steps? I mean, we heard about out-of-home, we heard about robotics. Is this also impacting your work or will soon?
Sure. One of the stories we repeat very often here in Better Mile is where is the sweet spot between a fully optimized, mathematically optimized sequence against a non-optimized sequence, right? So a non-optimized sequence means we have the driver jumps on the van and drives, repeats the same tour over 10 years, right? And this driver has nothing to do with our sequence, highly mathematically optimized based on business elements, on traffic elements, you name it, right? Now, what happens is that if we show this mathematically optimized sequence to that driver, well, the driver is going to say, oh, I drive always the same tour every day since over 10 years. I ignore it. The reality is that then the adoption or the missing adoption of this tour will then generate a lower business return and inconvenience for the consignees, for the driver itself and for the depot manager. It's also true that if the driver follows its instinct and doesn't follow any directions for an optimized sequence, then there is the other risk of not providing the right business. And the fundamental questions that we are trying to solve is, where is the perfect sweet spot? Where is a sequence that takes into account the historical behavior of the driver, but still provides a certain degree of business optimization in the sequence? And I think this is an interesting challenge that is around AI in the future. I think we all agree that AI alone is not able to solve the problem. There should be the involvement of the humans. But where is this sweet spot between we give everything to the robot, we give everything to the human? Where is this sweet spot where the human, so to say, and the robot will cooperate together?
I think it's a case-by-case situation. It depends of your setup. So we have analyzed multiple different use cases of the past incubation period of our company through the BEAM incubator that is with the LPs of the Bäumer Group. And depending on the requirement, the safety requirements, the automation requirements, the speed of the robots, well, you have a different human-to-machine interaction that you can afford yourself. And so it's a case-by-case approach. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, interesting. From the out-of-home perspective, like how would you judge this? We heard about robots, we heard about bringing in the human factor. Is there a human factor at out-of-home as well?
Absolutely. I believe that out-of-home is a revolution of the historical home delivery, but it's made of projects, it's made of human understanding which will be the effect on the ground, how will people connect with these locker, parcel shops, whatever will be the machine that will deliver and collect these parcels. Because I really hardly believe that everything starts at checkout, but then you have to have, at the same time, a good out-of-home network that is growing alongside this, and everything must be orchestrated by humans, until it's possible, that will manage at the best the outcome of this project. And that's the way to have a successful out-of-home network.
What would be your bet? Looking at Francesca, looking at the next 2 to 3 years, what will be the next step in out-of-home, and which technology will really reshape your business?
Well, in my opinion, I think that one of the key points of the out-of-home is reducing dwell time. That for now is not so good. Just recently, IPC shared a figure about saying that more or less a parcel is collected from an out-of-home point within 24 hours, 61% of cases. So meaning that most of the time the parcel will stay there, 40% of the parcel that I left today will stay there tomorrow.
Blocking the next delivery.
Yeah. If you look at this from a delivery van perspective, because in the end a locker is similar to the delivery van logic. You have to deliver as much as possible. Otherwise, tomorrow you have to try again. It will cost money. And it's something that anyone wants to avoid. By reducing this dwell time, will increase efficiency, and every out-of-home network will be successful. How to do this? I think that something could be made with gamification. Something could be made with surcharges, because today it's happening with the home delivery. And a third option could be a SaaS that will connect all their end users that are all well accustomed to use SaaS because of Google, Netflix, Prime, whatever. So why not to rent to the 700 million European consumer a locker space? I think that they will go for it.
Yeah. Interesting idea. Luca,
So
what would be your bet?
Can I ask a question to both of them?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So when a locker will come to me, when is going to happen that I am in a park with my kids and a locker will come to me?
It will save the dwell time.
It's already happening.
I was in happening in high-density towers, okay, where you have a lot of deliveries, so either like 200-300 deliveries per day, and then they have a robot pick up the packages, drive to the other building. There is another robot transferring a self-locker to another building and taking the elevator. But there are many challenges because they can work only in 1.5 million miles radius, and second, you need to integrate with elevators. And each elevator is different. So there is not a perfect
very
solution.
cool.
It's already happening, but it's not working. In Europe, like in city where they are horizontal, it's very difficult. But in Asia, where the cities are vertical, it's possible.
So maybe this is the bet, Luca. And the good news is also those self-driving robots need to be orchestrated, and they need the robots. Luis, what's your bet? And in terms of use case, what's in the next 2 to 3 years the successful use case that will also open the business for you?
There are two big reflections. One is the evolution of the end-to-end capability models that you use to control the robots. So end-to-end means that you give eyes and ears to robots. Because robots exist since 30 years. 30 years ago, you had a robot, but he was programmed in a hard-coded way by your spatial coordinates and then just asking him to open or to close the hand without thinking what he was doing there, what he was seeing, what he was hearing. So one reflection is the ability to give a robot a brain. The second is the form factor. So it's the different forms that you can use that brain to control and do a certain movement. So the human body is the utmost complex one that would blend everywhere, but it has a lot of degrees of freedom. And so you need to have the brain that controls those different degrees of freedom, plus also have that form factor that is hardware able to do the movements. So it means the legs needs to be working perfectly. I come from the hardware world, and hardware is hard, and you want to limit as much as possible the needed complexity in order to tackle your use cases. So our vision is to take the simplest form factor and put that brain that we are developing to tackle in the best way, the most optimized way, cost-wise, the use case that we are tackling. So to answer your question, two things, the brain and the hardware development that needs to be working at the scale of the industrial needs where you want to deploy this tool.
And the specific use case, what would this be? Loading a swap body with parcels? Or how do you? What's the actual use case?
We are in the intralogistics. So, but I mean, if you compare to more broad, like companies like 1X, that I think was you or Charles who was referring to. For me, this is the ultimate use case because every house, I mean, they do like a humanoid that blends into people's house to clean the dishes, wash the house, or wash the clothes. It's the ultimate complexity because you have all degrees of freedoms that are the most complex due to the human body, and every environment is different. Every dishwasher is different in any house, and so when you train models, you try to have like repetitive sequences where the model becomes better and the movements become more smooth because they are familiar from of the environment where they are working on. And so the ultimate complexity for me is what I just described, because every environment, every house is different with the most complex degrees of freedom that need to blend into these different setups.
Okay, so probably home delivery with robots, nothing for the next 1 or 2 years.
No. The most predictable ones are in environment that have similar patterns in terms of
like the elevators, as we heard it.
Warehouses. Yeah, this is where we start.
NVIDIA CEO was asked after the Boston Dynamics robot presentation, which was, if you haven't seen it, I would thoroughly encourage you to see it. It's staggering. But anyway, he was asked by the media, he was asked lots of questions, but he was asked in the interview, so next 3 or 4 years, he said, this year, commercially available.
Yeah, but I mean, the question is how fast will be the machine, and how because like the 1X thing is already available. You can go in the store, you buy it, but you have the WSG journal who made like an article on it, and they explain that you need to, in order to do simple movements, it take a week or two to teach the machine. So it's still, I mean, it's there. I agree with you, but it's still far from being an industrial grade tool. So I mean, I'm curious to see the next steps too. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Francesco, Luis, Luca, for providing input. Also, you adding on to it. Thanks to our speakers for the really amazing contribution today. Thanks for all you joining this collaboration platform. And you guys here on site now go into the fun part, grabbing some beers and start the conversation, maybe about robots, and maybe in the future the beer will be brought by robots. Let's see. Thanks everyone for coming here, and see you next time at the delivery meetup.
Everyone.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Last Mile Delivery Meetup. We hope you enjoyed the exclusive insights and discussions shared during this podcast. If you are interested in finding out more about upcoming events, technological updates, and industry news, subscribe to the Better Mile newsletter. The link is in our bio. Thanks for listening.